All right, so we stay with us now and look at the efforts that are now being made to secure the release of the abducted members. And we're joined now by a member of a Global Sumud Flotilla International Law Support Unit, Joe Bluen. Joe, good evening to you and thank you so much for your time. So the Israel Foreign Ministry, for example, saying that, and I quote, the Hamas Sumud passengers on their yachts are making their way safely and peacefully to Israel, where their deportation procedures to Europe will begin. The passengers are safe and are in good health. Is that the case?
I'm sorry, what is the question?
I was saying that the Israeli Foreign Ministry earlier on was saying that, and I'm quoting from a statement they were making, they allege that the Hamas Sumud passengers, that's what they're calling this mission.
Can we just before you continue?
Yeah.
We're coming from the context where Israel is committing a genocide, correct? Yeah.
And that's why I wanted
to never take anything.
Yeah.
If Sumud stood up and said, I believe the following to be the truth about South Africa, would we ask the question whether this is acceptable or true? No. This is an apartheid leader committing genocide. So let's. So first of all, just to recognize, number one, that the right to resistance to colonial domination is guaranteed in international law and customary international law, various treaties, and genocide and colonial domination constitute Jus Cogens norms against them. There exist Jus Cogens norms against them. No one can opt out of those obligations. So I think that's where we need to understand, for example, that calling it the Hamas Flotilla, I would like to see the evidence that this is a Hamas Flotilla. Hamas is its own organization. It has nothing to do with the Global Sumud Flotilla. These are two separate things. So what has happened, if we look back, and SABC, you of all would know, if we look back on how this genocide has been played out in the media, specifically in your newsrooms, where your colleagues are being massacred, where this is playing out, is by calling something Hamas when you are not actually talking about the organization, but you want to delegitimate anyone who is different, who is not white,
and Joe,
and so I think that's where I would urge our media colleagues to really be vigilant, because they just pump this propaganda and they're trying to catch us with it.
And Joe, pardon me for coming in there. And I suppose that's exactly where, the big issue has been, to say that when you look at how everything has unfolded up until this very point, this has been about the aid that needs to reach the people who are still desperately needing it, and a lot of concern tonight to say that, are they even going to get it?
Well, this is the question. That's an excellent question. You're talking about this. You're talking about a place where the people are living in abject conditions. They have a genocide, and on top of a genocide, there's an illegal starvation campaign. And a blockade prohibited by international law, and the Genocide Convention ruling order from the ICJ, which says you have to allow for unhindered access to humanitarian aid at scale. You are talking about intercepting the delivery of food, and that's exactly the point. And I'm so glad you brought it here, because we don't know. They have now intercepted so many of the vessels. They have abducted the civilian volunteers, all of the volunteers. They had detained them. We had questionable we had reports of extraordinarily questionable regard for prisoners' rights, which makes sense because we don't even know what they are being charged with. You know, what are you charging them with? With delivering food to hungry people, you know. So, you know, there's many levels.
Jo, do you know if everyone has been accounted for?
If everyone has been accounted for?
Basically, do you know where everyone is now? And I ask this because, for example, we just had a conversation here on the show with Ndileka Mandela, who is a cousin to Mandla Mandela, who was, of course, on one of the flotillas. And she was saying that for her, as the family, they are so worried about what is currently happening. They just want them to return back home as soon as possible because they believe that for them, even as a family, they continue to back this cause and everything. They just want news as to what exactly is currently happening.
Yeah, of course. And I think, you know, I'm glad to be having this conversation now because Israel, after the interceptions, after the torture, you know, or the use of water cannons for hours, they then abducted the people. And then we didn't know for some time where they were. Their lawyers on the ground did not receive clear communication from the apartheid Israel state because it's, you know, these nefarious criminal ways of handling imprisonment, you know, or abduction, kidnapping, war crimes. So we didn't know for a while, but I will tell you that I am not part of the Adala law team that is dealing with this on the ground, but they are some of the most tremendous, committed lawyers, and they have now established contact with the delegations, with the civilian, with the volunteers, and there's a new report that's just come out. So they are in good hands if the circumstances are, of course, stressful. And just to say on a personal note that I extend my deepest thoughts and regards and solidarity to the amazing families of everyone who's doing this.
And
I know it's hard.
Yeah. All right, Jo, thank you so much for telling us what you can. I do appreciate that update. Let's see then what happens in the next couple of hours. But thank you for that update. And as you say, strength to everyone there. That was a member of the Global Sumud Flotilla International Law Support Unit. That's Jo Bluen.